the year 750, the Abbasid clan, led by Abu al-Abbas al-Safa, aided by the support of Persian and non-Arab Muslims, brutally overthrew the Umayyad Caliphate. At the Battle of Zab, under the leadership of al-Safa, Abbasid forces decisively defeated the Umayyad army. This battle marked a turning point as it led to the collapse of Umayyad rule. Marwan II, the last Umayyad caliph, fled but was later captured and killed. The remnants of the Umayyad dynasty took refuge in Al-Andalus, in modern-day Spain. They established an independent emirate, while Berber tribes independently ruled in modern-day Morocco and Algeria. Despite that, the newly established Abbasid Caliphate dominated most of the Muslim world. After brutally suppressing potential opposition, the Abbasids quickly built a state that remained a major powerhouse in the Middle East for centuries to come. Non-Arab populations were among the main supporters of the Abbasid dynasty, while the Abbasids themselves were descendants of the Arab clans of Mecca. Their policies were careful to give importance to converts from other ethnicities and religious minorities. The promotion of inclusivity would contribute greatly to the internal peace and stability of the caliphate later on. Such policies allowed the development of a strong military, good education, and most importantly, encouraged trade relations with other major powers. With time, these inclusive policies were spread to non-Muslims, and many Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians rose to high positions in politics and commerce. The Abbasid dynasty, alongside Al-Andalus, greatly influenced the development of the Islamic Golden Age, especially through the direct promotion of arts, philosophy, and scientific progress. After the fall of the Umayyads, the victorious Abbasid rulers wanted a new capital from which they could rule. In July 762, the second ruler of the Abbasid Caliphate, Al-Mansur, commissioned construction of the new city, Baghdad. He chose a site north of the ancient city of Seleucia on the Tigris River in order for it to be on the crossroads of caravans traveling on the Silk Road from North Africa and Europe towards China. The construction started in the summer of 762 and lasted 5 years. The project mobilized more than 100,000 workers, including architects, masons, and builders. The city was given a circular form and was fortified by 2 walls that circled the town. It is said that Baghdad was the first round city of its kind in the Middle East. Soon after its completion, the new capital lived up to the ambitions of Al-Mansur and became a major center for trade, culture, and science. At its height, Baghdad counted more than 1.5 million inhabitants. Baghdad's central position on the Silk Road allowed the new caliphate to attract merchants from China, the Frankish lands, the Byzantine Empire, India, and Ethiopia. This major influx of trade brought in large tax revenue, which contributed greatly to numerous public works and the development of a strong regular army, which allowed the Abbasid Caliphate to defend the heart of the Silk Road. In keeping with the Abbasid Empire's ethnic diversity, the Caliph's army included regiments of various origins. In the 8th century, soldiers coming from Khorasan, who had supported the Abbasids' rise to power, were the most common in the army, while other units included Arabs and Zanj warriors from Eastern Africa. In the 9th century, the Khorasani were considered too dangerous after their involvement in the civil war of 811. They were replaced with regiments of Turkic, Slavic, and Caucasian slave soldiers, known as the Ghulam. The professional army amounted to tens of thousands of troops, settled in mostly urban barracks all around the empire. Among them, a small majority were infantrymen equipped with spears, axes, composite bows, and round helmets. The rest were an elite cavalry of chain-armored riders, armed with spears, axes, recurved swords, and bows. In battle, they would mount devastating armored cavalry charges from behind an infantry screen, but most combat involved small border raids and sieges in which a few hundred Abbasid soldiers fought similarly armed Byzantine, Tang, or North African counterparts. The tax revenue from the Silk Road allowed Caliph al-Mansur to build a great library in the middle of Baghdad. This library became known as the Bayt al-Hakima, or House of Wisdom, and it continued to be developed and enriched with books and scholarly works until the late 9th century. The House of Wisdom served as the Abbasid Royal Library, modeled after the Sasanian Royal Library, where ancient knowledge was preserved and translated into Arabic. It also provided economic and political support to intellectuals working there. It contained books from all origins, from ancient Greek learning to texts from India and China, covering a vast variety of subjects from mathematics to astrology and zoology. In the 9th century, the translation movement gained great momentum under the Caliph al-Ma'mun, who was personally interested in scholarship and poetry. He sent diplomatic missions tasked with gathering books from different countries in order to translate them at the House of Wisdom, which would remain a major destination for scholars all over the known world until its destruction. Education at a rudimentary level was accessible to most boys and girls in Abbasid cities, while elite members of society were able to afford private tutors at home. Less fortunate children between the ages of 6 and 9 would attend the kutab, or place of writing, a school usually located in a mosque. The children would learn to read and write by copying verses of the Quran, and the most valued achievement of any student was to memorize and recite the 6,348 verses of the Quran, a feat that would merit a child an award and even an honorific procession through the city. Another quintessential institution of any big city in the Abbasid Empire was the Hamam, playing a central role in promoting hygiene and public health. Hammams were one of the focal points of urban and social life. Public bathing was already an old tradition in the region. Numerous baths had been built by the Persians and the Romans in their respective empires, which served as inspiration for the caliphs. The Umayyads were famous for their baths, which were an important part of their palace complexes. For example, the bath at Khirbat al-Majar, near Jericho, was a monumental building decorated with lavish frescoes, mosaics, and carved stuccos in the Greco-Roman style. But no city was as famous as Baghdad for the number, the quality, and richness of its baths. An 11th century author, Halal al-Sabi, even claimed the city had 60,000 of them. In the aftermath of their golden age, the Abbasid Empire began its gradual descent into decline, a shadow of its once magnificent zenith. The vastness of its dominion, stretching across diverse lands and cultures, became increasingly unmanageable, leading to administrative difficulties. Local governors, sensing the weakening grip of central authority, started to assert autonomy, gradually chipping away at the cohesive fabric of the empire. This fragmentation was exacerbated by external pressures, as well as the emergence of formidable regional powers like the Buyids and Seljuks, who both supported and undercut caliphal authority. The heart of the empire, Baghdad, while still an intellectual beacon, increasingly became ensnared in political intrigue and power struggles, rendering the caliphs more symbolic than sovereign. As the empire's internal structures waned, its vulnerability to external threats grew, setting the stage for its eventual catastrophic encounter with the Mongols. While regional sultanates, infighting, and socio-economic factors weakened the empire's internal structure, it was the devastating invasion of the Mongols in 1258 that marked its historical end. This event significantly reshaped the Middle East for centuries to come. Hulagu Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, led the Mongol army into Baghdad, effectively ending the golden age of Islamic enlightenment and culture. The once thriving heart of knowledge, Baghdad's House of Wisdom was ransacked. In a symbolic act, the Tigris River ran black with ink from countless manuscripts and red from the blood of the city's inhabitants. Alongside the burning of the Great Library of Alexandria, the destruction of the Baghdad House of Wisdom is considered a major tragedy in the history of science. The legacy of the Abbasids did not entirely fade. While the political entity ceased, the cultural, scientific, and philosophical imprints of the era continued to resonate. The Abbasids' influence was so profound that even after their political fall in Baghdad, the title of the Abbasid Caliphate persisted in Cairo under the Mamluks, albeit in a symbolic form. Their reign might have ended, but the story of the Abbasid Caliphate continues to inspire, a testament to an era when humanity, regardless of faith or background, came together in the pursuit of enlightenment.